Good to see you.
Happy New Year.
This is a very nice setup. It's the first time I was up here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very modern. Very nice. I'm very impressed.
Should be live now, Kevin.
What's that?
Okay, great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Pictures are
Yeah, we
great.
had a nice grant.
Well, I think it's very entertaining. And how about this, how high tech? Marvelous. Hi, Jen. How are you? Julia Longley. Sorry. Virginia, I'll shake your hand again.
Sarah Locke.
Sarah.
She wanted to do the same.
Tell her she's a great friend of mine, you know?
She's our first.
Oh, God, she's wonderful, you know? And I haven't been back because of this thing, you know? So, it's great.
Yeah.
And this thing. Oh, it was a death-defying feat. I was walking across the wall-to-wall carpeting in my office. A death-defying feat.
That sounds like a workers' compensation claim.
Us former tax lawyers like me. My cousin Bobby said, "You want to file a claim?" I said, "No." Funny. So tonight's the night though. So many boroughs, right? You have your, your new meeting. Yeah, so we did articles. And then now we're heading no more to the union and transit to leave. So we're so happy. But it's so much fun, you know what I mean? It's so much fun, other than the,
It's great to see you though.
Oh, God, and give her shot and your mother
My phone
my
works, so Virginia just called, they're probably canceling that whole swearing in today, so just be prepared. I'm like, they probably went with someone else.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, either I'm asking something else.
I know, I love calling you. How you doing? Well, I'm nervous.
Hello.
Good, how are you? Good, dressed to the nines.
Thank you.
Right? You can run for family.
She's proud of his sister.
Of course, another one, dressed to the nines.
Exactly.
Always.
Okay, good. All right. How's school going? Good. It's going well.
And the mother gets to sit in the front seat.
Yes, right.
A nice break.
Yeah.
Picked out my pens in the work. I take it Ben's gonna get some pictures, are you, Ben, of our?
No.
Oh, he was training yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yep, about my chemical.
Ben,
Take the pictures and then-
can you share some pictures with me? Because I'm going to be tied up with the technology here. I don't want to, would
Okay.
you? Thank you.
Sure, you sent you your email.
Okay.
I mean, the picture that takes names, I'm sending.
Yeah.
Email them to you?
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I can put them on our website.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Da, 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 right?
Right.
Judge, are you doing a lot of your stuff by Zoom and everything?
Yeah, so we're all like Zoom aficionados, and the lawyers love it, and it's been great. Kevin's aunt has been leading the whole thing, I mean, she's just been working her president, but she's been amazing. So no, it's going very well. For trials, they're in person. If anybody would be subjected to a prison sentence, you have to have it live
Yeah, 6:59.
But, you know, small,
just don't need to be.
right, like smaller hearings or status conferences or oral arguments. It's a great thing to be able to do it by Zoom because you know how busy you are, you know what I mean? You're running all over the place. And it's much more efficient for lawyers, you
And
know?
no parking. You don't have to find a parking
You
spot.
don't have to find a parking spot. For litigants like it, too. And it's just right now it's safer. This is crazy. It's crazy. So, but no, we're doing really well, you know? Yeah, our county's been, you know, right on the front, ahead of other counties in terms of how we've been handling it. We've become very proficient with virtual, you know, proceedings. I mean, I've had several day long hearings by Zoom
Wow.
with experts on. So,
So
yeah.
you're keeping the cases moving along.
Yeah, oh,
and keeping
yeah.
People safe too.
Like in the beginning, right, in the beginning of the pandemic, we had to continue some things, but it was for a very short time period. And then after that, we just jumped right in and started doing all the hearings. It just kept going. We're, you know, not to knock in other counties, but some other counties did not do that and they got all clogged up.
Yeah.
And we just kept moving. And so it's worked out great, you know? And so Zoom's been, you know, wonderful.
Okay, Virginia, I guess you're ready.
Are we ready online? Kevin, all good? Okay.
We have
Yes.
everyone on board except for Harry.
Yeah, Harry hasn't called in yet.
We could proceed without Harry for now, I think, right? Until,
Right, we have a quorum and Harry's not being sworn in, so we don't have to have him at this meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Get going.
Thank you. Good evening.
Jerry Herman starts the
Oh,
meeting.
excuse me.
Good evening. Borough of Clark Summit Reorganization Meeting, January 3rd, 2022. Oath of office, Mrs. Jerry Carey, Mr. Josh Duran Mitchell, and Ronnie Lopez. Council members elect Carey, Mitchell, and Lopez will present their notarization affidavit of residency to prior.
I have them,
Hey, you have them?
yes.
Okay, you three want to step up?
Well, you got to do the roll call first.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I'm sorry. Roll call of all.
no, Virginia, they do this, the oath of office before roll call.
The old before.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, I apologize. Go ahead, yes, we do.
So
Okay,
I am honored to be here tonight with y'all, and this is the best example of democracy, our municipal governments, and your service to the community is extremely honorable, and I'm so proud to be with you here tonight. My second hometown. I was in my first hometown a while ago. This is my second hometown, so thank you so much. Let's do them individually. Okay, we'll do them individually. Let's start with seniority, our
Do you want us to
president.
come up here, Julia?
That would be great. Sure, that would be great.
Good evening, Mr. Kelly.
Hello there.
Yes.
Hello, Councilman
Hey,
Perry.
There's the jurist. There she is.
Ah, Kisses from Archibald. I just came from Archibald. So.
I heard your comments. Well noted.
Please raise your right hand, President Jerry Carey, and repeat after me. I, Jermaine Carey,
I, Jermaine Carey,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
And I will discharge the duties of my office
of council member of the Borough of Clark Summit
of council member of the Borough of Clark Summit
with fidelity,
with fidelity,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you. I'm gonna pass that right over to you.
Thank you.
Here.
The next one will be Josh Mitchell.
It's so nice to meet you, Mr.
You as
Mitchell.
well.
And please raise your right hand for me and repeat after me. I, Joshua R. Mitchell,
I, Joshua R. Mitchell,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
of council member of the Borough of Clark Summit
of council member of the Borough of Clark Summit
with fidelity,
with fidelity,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, John. Very honorable endeavor. Yeah. Public service is phenomenal.
There we are.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. The next one up will be Ron Licensing.
And raise your right hand, ma'am, and repeat after me. I, Renisha Angelique Lopez Thomas,
I, Renisha Angelique Lopez Thomas,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
of council member of the Borough of Clark Summit
of council member of the Borough of Clark Summit
with fidelity,
with fidelity,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I'll get a quick picture with you, Julie.
I would love that. Yeah, I didn't put the date on it.
I have the date on them.
Sometimes I do that on my word or on my, the law clerk has to put the date on. Great, and welcome.
Julia, do you have the form for the mayor?
Okay.
The mayor doesn't get sworn in. He was not elected this year. He,
Oh, I think you want.
oh, were you?
Was, I believe he was.
I'll say 2020, it should be 22.
Oh, I thought I fixed them.
Yeah.
22, no, that's the only one that says 2020.
Virginia, I thought that he was elected this year, but I.
Yeah, it was. I swear, I looked on
You
my
can write
thing and I
down.
had it wrong. I can remember. Perfect. Perfect. Gold. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And then we'll get a picture with.
Yeah, picture now.
Yeah, do the picture while she's printing.
Oh, yeah, come on, let's do the picture. Thanks, good, thank you. Good thinking, Shields.
You're a dad.
He was my lucky charm. Oh my God, I had this place down in,
Was Lehigh County.
yeah, it was Northampton. And I saw Bob Shields, and then right after I saw Bob Shields, I got the biggest verdict ever. I got my life. I was like, he's my lucky charm. You tell me where you want.
Check your stuff. Is
Oh.
that okay?
Right here.
Is this in your way at all?
Yeah.
Is the
Well,
podium,
move
are you
over.
this way?
No, it's
Is that okay? Is that okay, then? As long as the.
Smile, smile.
On the eye.
We'll take one without the S, just pull them down.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you.
Thanks, Ben. You're
Oh, yeah.
welcome.
And
Oh, it's so nice to meet
my
you.
senior Randy's gonna do a wrestling.
Thank you.
Oh, there
Here we go.
Thanks, does this go to?
Julia.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, my office of mayor, right?
Huh?
The-
Yes.
My office council member.
Oh. Yes.
So are you
Mayor.
gonna fix it? or what
Do you want me to reprint it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. You want to do the blessing?
Sure, this is only gonna take an hour and a half.
But I'm gonna make an executive decision. Go ahead, Monsignor.
You want to pray, we're gonna pray.
You know this one.
That you need prayer?
That was
We call upon the graciousness of our God to bless these leaders who have called to public service, to those who continue their public service in our community. Let us pray. Leadership is hard to define. Gracious God, let us be the ones to define it with justice. Leadership is like a handful of water. Good God, let us be the people to share it with those who thirst. Leadership is not about watching and correcting. Gracious God, let us remember it is about listening and connecting. Leadership is not about telling people what to do. It is about finding out what people want and what people need. Leadership is less about the love of power and more about the power of love. Gracious God, we ask you to bless these public servants as they continue to undertake the role of leadership within our community. Bless them. Help them to be the dedicated, committed public servants that they have been called to be for the people of our community. May this night be an affirmation of the dedication that they share as we witness to these promises that they make to be servants for your people. Let us walk in this path in the journey of this new year together, and that those who follow will come to know the goodness of our community through the example of our leadership. Let our greatest passion be compassion, our greatest strength, love, and our greatest victory be the reward of peaceful living. In leading, let us never fail to follow. In loving, let us never fail. Bless these our elected officials sworn in this day, those who continue their public service, and bless our community. Bless those who serve in the military from our community. Bless those who are crying out for healing of body and spirit this day. Use each and every person in this room as an instrument of your goodness for the people of our community. We ask this in God's love. Amen.
Amen. Great. It was beautiful.
Thanks for the invitation.
Perfect. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Herman Johnson,
I, Herman Johnson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear,
that I will support, obey, and defend
support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
I will discharge the duties of my office
of mayor
Of
of the
mayor
Borough of
of
Clark
Clark Summit
Summit with fidelity.
with fidelity,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Oh, Herman, congratulations.
We got a few words there. That's next week. Harry will be leaving. Good to see you.
Here we go, Virginia.
Thank
Perfect.
you so much.
And it was great to be here. What a great job.
Thank you. Safe trip to Dunmore.
Yes, we're on our way. We're gonna go to the union leaders.
I saw you on the news this evening.
Oh, did you?
swearing in, the
That was
mayor's
very nice.
friend.
Yeah.
Turn has local swearing in service.
Yes. You look good, you look great, and your mom does too. She always does, she always beautiful. Oh my God, look at that, oh my goodness, fabulous. Well, you be good.
You too.
Okay, do good work, I know you will.
Thank you.
God bless you.
What you passing?
Julia. Julia. Good seeing you, Ben. Take care. Be well. Bye. Bye, guys.
Hi, Judge. Okay, now the mayor will take roll call.
Mrs. Lopez,
Present.
Mr. Mitchell. Yes. Mrs. Simrel,
Present.
Mr. Shields,
Present.
Mr. Kelly,
Present.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Miss Carey,
Present.
Chief Yarns,
Present.
Miss Kehoe,
Here.
Attorney Hayes,
Here,
Senior Council Member, Mr. Thomas.
Present.
Mayor, now you'll make announcements on the following page.
Having a quorum of the members of Clark Summit Borough Council in attendance, I call this meeting to order. Before we proceed with this meeting, I have two announcements. The first announcement is Councilmember Jenkins and Councilmember Kelly are participating in tonight's meeting virtual in compliance with section 101-C of the Borough Code. The second announcement would be an executive session of the Clark Summit Council was held on Thursday, December 30th, 2021 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of reviewing the application submitted for the position of Borough Solicitor. We will now stand for meditation. The pledge of allegiance will be given by Junior Council Member Ronnie Thomas. Allegiance to the flag
Flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will now entertain nominations for the position of council president.
I'd be happy to nominate Jerry Garrett.
Are there any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations for Borough President Council?
Okay. Take the vote on.
You will now vote. Roll call. Mrs. Lopez,
Yay.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Simrel,
Yes.
Mr. Shields,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
So Mayor, if I may, and Mrs. Carey would abstain, so the vote being 6-0-1, Mrs. Jermaine Fitzgerald Carey is hereby elected council president.
All right.
Congratulations.
My total pleasure working with every single one of you. We work together so well and maybe it continues with me too and me and so on. So thank you very, very much.
I will now entertain a nomination for the position of council vice president.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes,
Mayor Johnson, I'd like to submit the name for Vice President of Clark Summit Council, Joshua Mitchell.
is there any other nominations?
Okay, all those in favor of the nomination of Joshua Mitchell for council vice president indicate by stating yes. All those opposed state no. Mayor Johnson, will you please perform roll call?
Roll call. Mrs. Lopez.
Yes.
Mrs. Simrel.
Yes.
Mr. Shields.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Carey.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and Mr. Joshua Mitchell is hereby elected vice president of the council of the Borough of Clark Summit. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Harry.
I will now entertain a motion for the position of council president Pro-Tem. Do I have any nominations?
Just by way of explanation, the president pro tem has traditionally been reserved for someone in the event that the president and vice president are not available to preside over council meetings or other council proceedings.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, submit the name of Bob Shields.
Do you have any other nominations? Okay, roll call. Mrs. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Simrel.
Yes.
Mr. Shields.
Abstain.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Carey.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and Attorney Robert Shields is hereby elected President Pro Tem of the Council of the Borough of Clark Summit. Congratulations. Mayor, at this point, as the officers of council have been duly elected and Jerry Carey having been elected council president, it is now, she will now preside over the remaining of the meeting, and the gavel will be passed to her for the remainder of tonight's proceedings.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. You did a fine job.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our appointment for the vacancy board.
Right, that has been Jim Klein. If just,
And we haven't heard from him yet. have we?
yeah, no, he's fine.
He's good with that.
Mhm.
Good. Thank you. Next item,
We have, We have to have a motion and second.
Oh,
vote.
excuse me. Do we have a motion to accept Jim Klein as our vacancy board chair?
A motion to accept Jim Klein as the vacancy board chair.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it. 7-0. Next item on our agenda is the appointment of our general solicitor. Our present solicitor, attorney Kevin Hayes, has accepted an appointment that he has to step down from being our solicitor. So we had a really, really good solicitor in you, Kevin, and we always look for your good support. So our meeting last week, we had many good applications from attorneys looking to fill your positions, even though they're pretty big shoes to fill. But at any rate, we went over every one of the applications, and at this point, everybody, after they've studied them, we have a motion to appoint a new solicitor.
Madam President, at this point, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mary Claire Hayes to our solicitor's position.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Give that to Harry. Okay.
Yes, that was me.
Okay, thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Our new solicitor will be attorney Mary Claire Hayes. Thank you, and if you wouldn't mind passing that information on.
Yeah.
If I see her,
Just in case you happen to bump into her in the hall or something. Thank you very much, Kevin. Okay, next one is the appointment of the #1 seat on our Abington Area Joint Rec Board. Josh Mitchell is has a reappointment. We have a vote for
A move to reappoint him.
move to just reappoint Josh to our board.
I move for the appointment of Joshua Mitchell to the Abington Area Joint Recreation Board.
Thank you, Doc. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Fingers have it.
6-0.
Oh, you're up.
601.
The next is the appointment of the 2 seats on the zoning hearing board.
Yep. Planning commission.
Any commissioner.
Planning commission. Bill Burnell, that's a new appointment and he's willing to step in, so we're very happy with this application too. Do we have an motion to approve Bill Burnell's appointment?
I move for the appointment of Bill Burnell to the Borough's Planning Commission.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Fingers have it, 7-0. The next is the appointment of the 2 seats on our zoning hearing board, John Jeffrey and Geoff Rock, the reappointments. We have a motion to reappoint them.
Madam President, if I may, I think if we could do them individually, because it's a, not that any position is more important than another one, but this is a significant position. So I think we should do them individually. So I think at this time, if council would first consider the appointment of John Jeffrey to the board's zoning hearing board.
I'll move for the appointment of John Jeffrey.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Josh. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Favors have it.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Jeffrey Brock to the second position.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ronnie. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Papers have it, 7-0. The next appointment is one seat on the Abington Regional Wastewater Authority, Paul Murphy's reappointment. We have a motion to reappoint Paul Murphy.
I move for the appointment of Paul Murphy to the Abington Regional Wastewater Authority.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathleen. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Papers have it, 7-0. Thank you. Appointment of the 2 seats on the Shade Tree Commission with Molly Philbin. We have a second.
We didn't get a.
I'll move for the appointment of Molly Philbin to the Borough Shade Tree Commission.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Papers have it, 7-0.
No. No, I voted no against Molly Philbin.
That was Dave Jenkins?
Right. 6.
That's
yes.
correct.
Okay.
Thank you. The next is Mark Tefera's reappointment. We have a motion to approve Mark Tefera.
I move for the appointment of Mark Tefera to the Borough Shade Tree Commission.
We have a second.
I'll second the motion of Mark Packer to the Shade Commission.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Papers have it, 7-0. The appointment of one seat on the IPMC Appeal Board, Joe Guzik's reappointment. We have a motion to approve Joe Guzik.
I move for the appointment of Joe Guzik to the IPMC Appeals Board.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Papers have it, 7-0. The appointment of the 2 seats on the Lackawanna County TCC. We have Ben Casanton.
The reappointment.
These are reappointments.
Yes.
Right.
I'll move for the appointment of Ben Pasanchen to the Lackawanna TCC.
We have a second.
I'll second.
You got it, Ronnie.
Ronnie, you beat your own.
She's Kathleen.
Okay, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Papers have it, 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion, we nominate Virginia Kehoe to the second position.
Thank you. Do we have a second? For
I'll
Virginia
second,
Kehoe.
Virginia.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Papers have it, 7-0. The appointment to the EMA Director, Art Franks, for a reappointment. We have a motion.
I make a motion that we appoint Art Frank as EMA Director.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Oh, who was that, Ronnie? I don't want to ruin her streak.
It was Kathleen.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Papers have it, 7-0.
Jerry, the appointments are done, don't need motions. You go ahead with those appointments for the 2 cogs, the senior site council.
Okay.
Can I make one comment for you that
Absolutely.
I would contend that we no longer need to have a liaison with the senior site council since we no longer operate the senior center.
I would,
I would agree with that.
So, so
Do they function in any other capacity aside from is there still a senior site council?
I don't think they really even operate the way that they did previously.
I don't think, gosh, to be honest with you, I think it's all basically under the.
Madam President, if that's the case, perhaps the position should be eliminated.
That was Kevin's suggestion, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We can't hear some of the conversation. With the mask, it's holding the conversation back.
Well, if there's no need for it, yeah.
You want to make the other appointments?
Okay, so that would be Abington Cog.
Is that going to continue to be you and Bob Shields?
Yes, once we get back into actually.
Right,
being able to
meeting.
meet, you know. And also the Lackawanna County Cog, that's another one too that
You'll keep your seat.
I'm still very much involved with
Okay.
that. Of course, the senior site council, as Josh said, we're just eliminating
Right.
that currently. And the Wales sister city, Warren Watkins, has always been gracious with that. And the ABPA, myself and Warren Watkins are also involved in that. We're all employees. The next appointment is for the manager secretary, Virginia Keyhole.
I'll move for the appointment of Virginia Kilo as the borough's manager.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ronnie. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Favors have it, 7-0. Thank you, Virginia,
Thank you.
for all you do. The appointment for our part-time secretary, Jen Basalega. We have a motion to approve Jen Basalega.
I move to.
I'll make that a motion.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry, Ronnie.
That's okay. You were quicker than me.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, favors have it, 7-0. Congratulations, Jen. Thank you. The appointment of our treasurer, Sarah Ludwig. We have a motion to approve Sarah.
I move for the appointment of Sarah Ludwig as borough's treasurer.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Josh. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it, 7-0. The appointment of our code enforcement zoning officer, Jen Basalega.
I'll make that a motion.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathleen. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Favors have it, 7-0. The appointment of our police chief, Chris Yarns.
I'll make that a motion, Chris Yarns.
As the borough's police chief here. Okay.
Right.
I just want to, for purposes of the record, if we could all just state exactly what we're appointing or we're moving for the person's appointment to, just because, so it's as official as possible.
Okay.
There's a motion
I
on
will
the
make that
floor.
a motion that we appoint Chief Yarns to his present position as police chief.
Have a second?
I'll second the motion for Chris Yarns as borough's police chief.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Favors have it. Congratulations again. The appointment of our sewage enforcement officer, Gary Wilding. We have a motion to approve Gary Wilding.
I'll move for the appointment of Gary Wilding.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion of Gary Wilding as borough's sewage enforcement officer.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it, 7-0. The appointment of our labor secretary or solicitor, Attorney Joe O'Brien.
I move for the appointment of Joseph O'Brien as the borough's labor solicitor.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have a second?
I'll second. We're starting off the new year.
Okay,
Which one are we going on?
Kathleen can have it.
Okay.
okay, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Please have it, 7-0. The appointment of our zoning board solicitor, Bob Shields Junior.
Junior.
You're the third then.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
I'll make a motion for Bob Shields Jr. as zoning hearing board solicitor.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 7-0. The appointment for our planning commission solicitor, Attorney Michael Cowley.
I move for the appointment of Michael Colley as Borough Planning's Commission Solicitor.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Harry. All in favor, on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Favors have it, 7-0. The appointment of our borough auditor, Jordy Murphy Associates.
I move for the appointment of the firm of Murphy, Gordon and Company as the borough's auditor.
And give me a second.
Second.
Thank you, Judge. On the question, favor,
Aye.
all opposed, favors have it, 7-0. The appointment of our borough engineer, Caldwell Nagle.
I make a motion, we appoint Caldwell Nagley Borough Engineer.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. On the question, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Favors have it, 7-0. The next is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Ronnie and Dave?
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have it, 7-0. Approval of the minutes.
We didn't get them in time, so you guys are gonna have them in your email tomorrow and we'll go over the next month, okay?
Fine, that's fine, no problem. Public comment or input. Do we have anyone who would like to address council? Okay, we move on. The next item is our police report.
There's not a lot, the body cameras were gonna be included. We had original date of March 22nd. The vendor moved it up to March 2nd, so that's good.
Oh,
So that's the day we plan on activating and start utilizing. them. That's going along smoothly for the county. I really know the issues. I know we have a further work. That's to be here by then. Other than that, the cars, they're being, as far as I know, they're being upfitted now. We're looking at the second week of January, which is next week, I'm hoping. That was the latest update. I know they have to come up here, and they haven't called me for an appointment yet, remove the cameras that are in the car now, and the radio out of the unmarked car. The radio, the other radio isn't in yet, so the place number 4, Motorola dealer, we're gonna take the radio at Tahoe temporarily.
Oh,
They're gonna put it in there. So he thinks he can do it quickly because he thinks the plugs are the same. It's the same,
oh, okay.
even though it's an older radio, it's an older model, it has the same plug in it, right? So when the radio comes, be this man that's running down there within 5 minutes, you can or radio plug it on plugs in.
Oh, good.
So that's where we're at with that. Because the radio is just a nationwide shortage of chips and what have you. And that's kind of what we're still waiting. Even though we ordered it, I think it's September. So
Well,
that's, you know,
getting
it's-
closer and closer.
they're gonna take the black card cameras out, and that's part of the deal we signed with the Watson cars. They'll
Exactly.
take them out.
They're gonna put them in the new. So, they're supposed to come up here and take them out, and take them back with them. But we'll be without 2 car cameras. So. Other than that, we're chugging along. You know, so a little bit busy, but we'll see. It's quite green out here. So, but it's taking them to the man. So, Officer Sedlak is officially retired now? Officer Sedlak retired at midnight, and midnight, December 31st. So I get the call MOPEC with them now, and we moved them from the MOPEC thing, and he's gonna get retired ID card. So we were working on today for we'll have one of those. So that's all. I think it's all done. Everything's going smooth. Nothing. There's the 2 new officers that we hired a few months ago, working out pretty well.
He had like 31 years in our police department.
31. Yep. 31.
Just an FYI, Chris has 31 years too.
I've
We
been
started
there
a month
longer
apart.
than he is, actually. Even though I'm younger, I started younger. But so, but we've been here the same time, a little bit longer than you.
And when I took a check down to him last week, I had the pleasure of talking and listening to him for a while. He was really ready to talk.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got his jaw back and.
So happy that he can talk again.
Yeah, but it was just good to see all he's been through, though. He's really.
He just so you know, he didn't really finish out the way he wanted to finish out. He had an operation that his jaw was fractured and
Yeah.
had that all done. So he was done off probably 2 months ago. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's really not much, we're doing pretty well.
That's good.
Madam President, if there's no more questions for council for the chief, can we excuse the chief?
Absolutely. Anybody have any questions for you?
You want an update on the?
I'm gonna have a brief one. You wanna stick around? It's up to you.
If you want.
You know what, can we
Not much between
put
now.
Josh's regionalization?
Anytime you want.
wanna
Josh,
do
if
that
you
now
wanna
so you
do
can
that
dismiss?
now,
Yeah.
So since we last met, I did have a meeting with the representatives of South Abington and Waverly, along with DCED. So they have not yet approved their letters of intent. They both wanted to meet with DCED and understand the process a little bit before they did that. So the representative from DCED, as well as they call them peer consultants. Basically, that's an acting police chief that they appoint to work with us. One who is a chief in Chester County came up, and we spoke for about an hour. I think one of the things that was discussed quite a bit that everyone should be aware of, and that's going to happen next, is we had a lot of conversation about the municipalities that we serve by way of contracts. So Clark's Green, in our case, for example, and how to include them in the study, because they will be impacted. They will, if they're going to participate, need to pay based on the formula and whatnot. And it was really decided, it was their recommendation as through the discussion, and I think myself and the 2 other elected officials were in agreement that we need to invite those municipalities into the process to be part of the study. So with that, what we decided is that we serve Clark's Green, so it should be us to approach Clark's Green and ask them to join the study if they so choose. Likewise, South Abington would do the same in Newton and Ransom, and Waverly would do the same in Glenburn and North Abington. I think one of the concerns that I've had, and I've spoken to some of you about this, and the others from Waverly and South Abington shared that concern, is that if you invite all of these folks into the room, so to speak, they suddenly outnumber those of us that actually have police departments. And that's just a concern as these things come together. And really the way that the peer consultant, who again is a police chief, positioned it to us is that joining the study, number one, if their data is going to be collected and it's going to be put into the study or the report, then they should be part of the study. But number two, it's not as though they can come and argue about what they ought to pay. The formula is going to tell everyone what they ought to pay. So from my perspective, I think that makes sense. And I've spoken to Jerry about this, that as a next step, we would go probably within the next month and visit with Clark Screen to invite them to participate. And I think what's important to convey to them when that happens is, if you participate, if you were to join a regionalized police force, in all likelihood, your cost is going to go up, and you should understand that going into this. It's not going to be a position where, you can negotiate a sort of contract. It's going to be the formula is agreed, and the formula dictates what everyone pays. That's how this is going to work. So, if anyone has any questions or concerns about that, I'm open to hear them. But I think as a next step, that does make sense. It would be difficult to include their data in the study without them participating in the study. And at the end of the day, they're in all likelihood going to be covered by a regionalized force. And so they really need to be part of the study. They need to be part of, the recommendations that come out. So that is probably the biggest update for you all. And I think, as I said, as a next step, I would go and visit with them at one of their next meetings and talk about this, ask them as well to submit a letter of intent if they so choose. Oh, and one other thing is they did actually ask us, I should have conveyed this to you before, but I haven't got a chance. They would like us to resubmit our LOI with more detail. They wanted to say that we want to do a police regionalization study with South Abington Township, Waverly Township, etc. They just wanted some more detail on that. So any questions?
Josh, if I may, Josh, whose idea was it to bring in the outside municipalities, such as Newton, Clark's Green? I know we're already on board with Waverly. I wasn't overjoyed to hear that, but whose idea was it initially to bring everybody in on it?
I'm not sure
at this stage of the game?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was anyone's idea so much as there was discussion about what do we do with these municipalities? We have these that we serve. We really need their data to be part of the study because in all likelihood, they're going to be covered by a regionalized force. And so you don't want to run all these formulas, not accounting for these residents, not accounting for these miles of road that are going to need to be covered by the regionalized force. So how do we do that was really the question. And that's where through conversation, I think it was the suggestion of the police chief, the peer consultant, who said, you really ought to include them in the study. And then there was conversation about what I just said, which is, okay, now there's potentially 5 of them and 3 of us. How does that work? And it really, at the end of the day, it's a data-driven process. And it doesn't have anything to do as well with how a regional commission might ultimately be formed. Because just because each municipality has a member on this study committee doesn't mean that that's going to be the same representation on the commission. That would more than likely be aligned with population. So, someone like us ought to have more representation than a smaller municipality, for example. Now, I can tell you too, there are models for these things where no matter how many representatives a municipality might have on a commission, each municipality only has 1 vote. Even if there are 2 or 3 people, they still only vote as 1. That's a model that exists. So those kinds of things are open for further discussion as this proceeds. And that's, I think, where this gets a little bit political, quite frankly, but that's far down the road. For now, in terms of preparing a study and collecting the data and then producing a report, I think I was very reluctant as well to say, let's go invite them in. For those reasons that I've stated, but I think we came around to the idea that it just doesn't make sense to do this and not include a big portion of our area that needs to be included.
I think probably the most important part about the whole situation, and I agree with probably 99.5% of what you're saying. But I think probably one of the most important things is the fact that for anybody who is contemplating coming in with the group on the regionalization, because as you just said, it's going to happen, and it's either going to be us on regionalization, or they're going to end up going with the state police. And at some point in time, the state police are going to have to sit back and reevaluate all their little situations that they have where they're providing coverage for everybody. And all of a sudden, the price of bingo is going to go up. And what they don't realize is when the state police come in and they give you a number, that's what the number is. They're not going to care if you got a box of Kleenex or you don't have a box of Kleenex. It's going to be what it's going to be. And I agree with you 100% in what you're saying, as far as the people that are coming on board, coming to the meetings, need to know right up front that what you're paying now is not what you're going to be paying in the future for municipal police coverage, because there's going to be a lot more detail and a lot more issues that are going to be concerned. And it's going to cost the municipalities that are joining, it's going to cost everybody a little bit more money. Some people are not going to find it very affordable. However, if they want the coverage, they're going to have to do what the numbers suggest.
And they could, I think the most important thing is this is a data-driven process. The data there are formulas used to determine how many officers you need based on national benchmarks. There are formulas used to compute, these are your miles of roads, this is your population, these kinds of things, and therefore this is what you ought to be paying. It's all formulaic.
Sure.
It's not really open for a whole lot of debate. There are elements of it that could be. And if someone that they could participate in the study and then get a price tag that they don't like and say, never mind, we'll just suffice with state police coverage. And that's fine. That's their choice. We could do that. We could see data and come back and say, we'll just stay as we are. That's possible too. But I think for the purposes of putting together a study that's going to give us the best data and the best results and the best recommendations that are going to be closest to what we're going to actually deal with, we do need to involve these municipalities at this stage.
Okay. And I appreciate the work you're doing too, Josh. You're doing a fine job. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any other questions for Josh? Okay, well, just keep us posted with direction and wherever you need any kind of help with. The chief and mayor. Happy New Year, Chief. Okay, the next item on our agenda is our deeds and votes.
We have none.
Borough Treasurer report.
If I could just make a statement about that, Borough Treasurer's report, obviously since it's the first business day of the month, it's not a reconciled report,
Okay,
just for the record, when you vote on it.
okay, no problem there. And vendor payments.
Yeah, we need a vote though, on the Treasurer's
Oh,
report.
we do. Oh, okay. We have a motion to approve the Treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
thank you. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All approved? We'll just have it 7-0. The next is our vendor payments to be ratified. We have a motion to approve the bills.
I'll motion to pay the bills.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Josh. On the question, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
Right.
7-0. Next under old business is our sewer report. Does anybody have any questions for sewer princess? Another new hat for the princess. Queen sounds mean. So nice. Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion to approve our sewer report?
I'll make a motion to approve the sewer report.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathleen. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Have it 7-0. The next one is resolution 2022-01, the disposition of the surplus personal property. This is to do with the rifle that's going to be given.
That's right. Madam President, if I may, I'm no longer a solicitor, just a guy on the street, but I want to tell you what the background of that resolution is. Under the borough code, the borough has the ability to sell personal property that is valued under $1,000 without going through an advertising or formal process. However, it typically has to be approved by resolution. The sale of personal property has to be approved by resolution by council for each individual item. What the borough code does permit is if council adopts a policy which controls the sale of personal property that is valued at less than $1,000, then the borough council would not be required to have a resolution each time they sell an item, a personal property value less than $1,000. And they would also avoid the process of having to advertise and incur the costs associated with that. So what I drafted is the resolution before you, which sets forth a policy and a process for the sale of personal property. It's important to note that your council is not relinquishing any of its power or authority with regard to the sale of these items. Either the borough manager or the police chief, if they were to sell personal property of the borough, would have to follow a very specific process where they would have to verify that the cost of the item is in fact less than $1,000 and could only sell the property at the minimum price that the item is valued at, and then would have to report that to council at the next council meeting. So in the event that this is a process that is not working for council and council doesn't feel that they would like the borough manager or the police chief to have that sort of discretion, they could certainly repeal that policy. But I think it lends for efficient disposition of personal property without having to incur expenses or go through the formalities involved in a resolution process and the legal costs associated with that as well. So that's what's before you for your consideration.
Kevin, as far as the resolution goes now, they would still need to come back with a basic report for the council on what they're getting rid of. Or
Correct.
Would that be before the fact, after the fact?
It would be after the fact. So if the borough manager or the police chief accepts a written offer for the purchase of the borough's personal property in an amount that is less than $1,000 and equal to or greater than the fair market value that is determined by the procedures set forth in this resolution, they can do that. The borough manager and police chief would then report such sales at the next borough council meeting following the sale. So it would be a subsequent sale. It would be subsequent to the sale.
Thank you. Madam President, on the advice of our former council, I guess we can say, I would make a motion that we accept resolution 2201 on the disposition of surplus personal property.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Here, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I have it 7-0. Thank you. I guess we have no new business. And no correspondence. We had prior December 30th, 2021, our professional services, none during, none subsequent. We have a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn,
Wait,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And just before we adjourn, I just want to make sure that it's on the record. I know the mayor had indicated at the beginning of the meeting, but just one more time that there was an executive session held by Borough Council on December the 30th at 7 o'clock p.m. For purposes of discussing personnel matters, specifically reviewing the applications that have been submitted for the vacancy in the position of Borough Solicitor. I just want to make sure that was.
Gary, I have one more thing to add. I'd like to just get it out there as a reminder that I think from this point on, we're going to be meeting virtually. Is that correct?
From what I understand, it's supposed to peak in February, so I don't think we should be okay from there on. And so
Well,
we're just gonna have to play and see how.
I think from the sound of things, I think we should really leave it go until March or possibly even April, just to be on the safe side, because we went through this last year and we debated about it last year, and we finally ended up doing it. And I think it would certainly be in the interest of the public as to be proactive rather than reactive. I think Ronnie's suggestion last month at the meeting that we meet virtually, I think that was a good suggestion, and I really think that we should do that. It was under my understanding that after this meeting tonight that we were going to do it, and we were going to do the meetings virtually. Business will still be conducted the way that business normally is conducted. Any checks that need to be signed would be able to be signed by yourself. Job review. It'll still run the way it's been running right along, but I just think that by exposing everybody to needless situations is not the smart thing to do.
Agreed.
That was my understanding as well, that this was the last one, only because of the swearing in the reorganization, and that proceeding we would do the virtual, just to err on the safe side.
The only thing I would contend is
Basis.
this setup could allow everyone to participate virtually, or two people to sit here in the room. And so does it really matter? We can continue with this hybrid approach. And if that means next month that everyone ends up virtual, everyone ends up virtual. Really the only difference is if we continue with this approach, you have to be here to make sure that the room is open for the public, correct? So
And to set up everything here,
and to
yeah.
set this up. So what is your feeling on that matter?
Personally, I kind of, with 17,000 plus the past couple of days, I kind of feel like we should go a month or two virtually. I'm really trying to limit my exposure. I have my husband's older than I am at home. I want to make sure he's safe.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
I will also do whatever we decide.
My only question would be with the YouTube and stuff like that. What happens if we have any issues with that? I mean, that's something we would have to make sure. We do have to allow public comment. And if we do it this way, anyone can see this or participate.
Yes, I am going to, as Mary Claire is our new solicitor, I'm going to make sure that she has all the procedures to hook it up the same way I do, and we'll test them early enough before each meeting to make sure it's working.
Now, does that affect our voting on anything if
No.
half is virtual and half is here? That doesn't affect that, right? That was my concern. I didn't know if that had any effect.
But the big thing is, if we do a hybrid, you do have to be here in person, correct?
Yes.
We can put it then to a vote.
Kevin, does it need to be voted on?
It's up to to be honest, it's really up to the council president to decide how and when meetings are going to be conducted. So, it really is up to council president Jerry Carey to determine, the manner in which meetings will be conducted. If she wants to put it to a vote, that Mr. Jerry, if you want to put that to a vote, that's certainly within your discretion, but the manner, the date, the time, that's really within the purview of the council president.
Can we do this month by month? In other words, you just say, would be
Gary, I'm
vir-
sorry, we can't hear what you're saying.
If can we do it month by month? In other words, January, we will do it virtual. And by then we'll have what it looks like for February, what it looks like for March.
So you're saying right now, we'll decide the work session will be virtual. At the
Right.
work session, we'll decide if we're gonna have the regular meeting virtual or not and
Right.
do it like that. Okay, that's what Jerry's
That will
suggesting.
save us advertising if we have to change anything, but this way, the minutes of our meeting is on our webpage, so people would know exactly what's decided at that meeting, whether it's virtual or within the chambers.
Or you're gonna be doing the same thing you did last year. We did the same thing last year, and then I think it was the March meeting, we just decided we were gonna go and do it virtually because of the seriousness of the situation. I think we're better off just to make a decision and do it now and say February, March, and April, we're gonna be done on the computer. We've got the facilities there to set up to do it. If people want to come in to the meeting, fine, all well and good. The only one that needs to be really informed is Virginia, so she can prepare the council room. And then if it works out that people want to remain home and not have a mask on, well, then that's their prerogative. But I just feel you're beating a dead horse by not being proactive.
Virtual.
I-
So it's a 1-minute conversation at the end of the next meeting. So I don't-
Exactly.
I
And
don't see why we
myself
need
too,
to-
it's not just Virginia, I would rather be
I'd rather
virtual, so I
be
don't want to just have Virginia either.
And then- And I
feel the
will honor
same.
anybody. I come to work every day, so it doesn't matter if I come in for the
It's just
meeting.
really bad right now. I know a lot of
Yeah,
people that are
sure.
sick at the moment,
Yeah.
so it is.
If you
hard.
don't have to be here opening a building for the public, then we don't want you to unnecessarily be here, just the possibility of 2 people coming in, or 3 people coming in person.
I am absolutely fine though with the decision to go, okay, work session in January, virtual, and then we'll play it by ear.
And then we'll just reassess at the end of every month.
Exactly.
So for this month, we'll do 100% virtual.
Okay,
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay. Wait a second. Thank you. Okay. I want to thank everybody for running such a wonderful meeting tonight. Everybody just working so well together. It's a pleasure to come here and know that we're getting a lot of good things done. So. And
Congratulations to everybody that was sworn in, and a Happy New Year.
That's right.
good night, everyone.
Congratulations.
Stay safe, please.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everybody.